Welcome to Science and the Mystical. This is where I get to interview some amazing people, and I always want to see how much science is behind what they do, if any, which I'm sure there always is, and how that kind of merges with our mystical selves, our soul selves, our spiritual aspects. It's such an important integration that makes us better human beings. And so there's no one better than Karen McKinnon, who is here on the screen with me today. And we're truly gifted with your presence. Karen, thank you for being here.
Oh, Maureen, I'm gifted with your presence as well, and I'm very happy to be here with you. So thank you. And your topic just lights me up, so I'm super excited.
Aw, well,
Yeah.
thank you so much. And today I labeled this one or titled it Deepening and Soul Psychology. And you are in a very fascinating field that I actually had never heard of before. So this is going to be really interesting and informative for the listeners.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a diploma in existential integrative psychotherapy. That's like a mouthful in and of itself, isn't it?
Yes.
And you're in private practice as a soul counselor and a soul coach. And you have so many other things that you offer. There's just a plethora. So we're going to dig into that a little bit later.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the pleasure of meeting you at a really quaint coffee shop in Victoria. And we just kind of knew each other when we kind of saw each other, which was super cool. But I snooped you on Google just to so I kind of knew what you looked like. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know. And you're known in the community for your brilliant skills. And you're also known for how kind you are and that you have this huge, gracious heart. And for anybody to see you, and I know when I first saw you, it doesn't like it totally makes sense that yoga is your language and the connection to heart is kind of your food. And and you embody that, and it's evident to everybody that meets you. If I run into somebody who goes, oh, I met this amazing woman, her name is Karen McKinnon, I'm going, I know, right? So it's so fun. So we're going to jump right in.
Yes, let's. What a beautiful smorgasbord of an introduction. I love that.
It was a smorgasbord.
I
That's
love it.
okay. That's what makes this
I
fun.
love it. Yeah.
um, Tell us how you got into this. Like, what was the draw? What happened?
Yeah, well, I'm not even sure how far back to go, but I remember being a teenager in the middle of biology class, specifically reading Yoga, Youth, and Reincarnation. Because
In
don't get
biology
me wrong,
class?
in biology, parts of it were interesting, but parts of it, I just found this book and I had to read it. So I had started my journey in that way. I was just always fascinated with the mystical, the transpersonal and energy way of looking at things, where there's this natural relationship between things that are seen and things that are not seen. So I guess you could say it started then, and then just getting into yoga when I was 21 is when I got my certification, and doing that to current day, and then everything in between, just sort of all this. I just kept following what I found endlessly fascinating. So I've been basically what I found fun. And that's when things really actually started to shift for me in my business, when I decided to do something that I found so fun that I wouldn't let myself do before, because I had to be quite practical. So my own journey with this sort of practical and mystical, or practical magic, like I like to call it, has started for some time. But I think that's how I'll start it off. I feel like I could talk about like a billion things right now, and I'm trying to like rein it in.
Well, just rein it in,
Yeah.
because I'm so curious.
Yeah.
You
Yeah. So go ahead.
you were in Toronto at the time. Is that correct? You grew up
Yeah.
there? Okay.
Yes, I grew up in Scarborough and Toronto, and I'm in Victoria now. I've been here a couple of years, because of the nature. It drew me here. Basically my soul called me here, and so that's why I'm here. It was a surprising sort of knock at the door where I'm like, okay, you want me to go where? Across the country? okay.
And you
So,
did.
and it's still, it's for me and for, everyone that I help too. It's like, it's for me, it's still a practice and actually listening and following, because you can hear the nudges and, or the screams, but then it's, if you actually take action is another thing, but it's all a process. So,
Wow,
yeah.
that's a big journey. So many
Hmm.
people end up in Victoria, from a calling that they have or an intuition that they have. It's quite interesting.
I'm hearing that a lot, actually. Yeah. And I love hearing all their stories and hearing more and more people talk about like this sort of not secret, but like sort of tender part of how they kind of live their life from this, like, oh, I was called. And more people are starting to talk and share more with other people from that place within themselves, which I really enjoy. So yeah,
Hmm.
I've been hearing that a lot out here, and it's very exciting. We kind of get excited when we, oh, how did you come here? Really? Oh, so
It's a great
yeah.
conversation starter.
It is, yeah. And just how we come to meet people, like how we met, is
Hmm.
kind of interesting as well, which I really enjoy.
I can't even
Yeah.
remember who connected us, but
Mm,
it was one of those where, yeah, I really need to merge with this person. So it was
yeah.
awesome. And I'm so glad I did.
I know, me too. I've been working
Yeah.
with you and your amazing skills, so it's been quite a beautiful gift as well. So,
Aw, thank you.
hmm hmm
And how is Victoria treating you?
well,
Ah,
it's
that's a big
it's treat
conversation.
well, it's treating me well. It's treating me well. I'm starting to get to connect with more folks that have such a unique and interesting, they're like their own language with like the mystical, and
Mhm.
um, it's beautiful to connect with all these sort of like-minded folks, but also with their own niche and their own uniqueness. So coming to actually work, one of my offices is in your old office, which is another
Yes.
little synchronistic thing, and with someone else who was on one of your podcasts. I think it's one of the first ones that you had, actually.
Otis, yes.
Otis, yes, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And so it's been treating me well. I've been having some really beautiful and interesting supports come through to kind of welcome me in and create a new community here. I left like this massive community that I've had for so long, same yoga studio that I was teaching at for like 15 years. So it's definitely a new journey to kind of land here and see, how things are going to start to unfold. So, yeah.
15 years. Oh my gosh. You must have started as a toddler because you you
Well,
wear it well, girl.
well, oh, thank you, thank you. Well, the teacher training I finished in when I was 21, so or
Mm,
20. So
yeah.
yeah, I guess I knew I wanted to do something in the healing arts for a while and just kept growing, you know.
Hmm.
And I love that I can bring it all together now.
Hmm.
I
Everything
love
in
it.
good time, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. When you're not wildly impatient, sure, everything in good time.
And you
Yeah.
work mostly one-on-one with people, is that correct?
I do. So my entire practice right now is one-on-one. Um, and I did a lot of group work. I mean, even my yoga classes are online right now. Um, but with the soul counseling and the soul coaching one-on-one, there's something really special about the personability of it and the relationship that gets to develop in that one-on-one container. Um,
Mm,
yes, people really start to open up and share some of the things that's been on their heart and on their soul that they finally feel like they can start to explore. And so yeah, I love it. There's something really satisfying about being able to connect and meet with someone on that level. And I think it's people are hungry for it. They teach us how to do math in school and all these
mhm,
other lovely skills. And,
mhm.
how do I connect with my deep heart and deep soul? I mean, that should be in school.
As a part of biology class or something,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Back to
yes,
biology.
yes,
Wow.
exactly.
So are
Yeah.
you
So
are you working with people online and in person? Because I know you came at a very awkward global time.
I did. Yeah. So
Yeah.
thankfully, I was actually able to move my entire practice over because it was all online, and it actually still is. And I occasionally see someone in person when they want to, though I'm still seeing and having referrals for online practice for people who are in Ontario a lot. I have people in even further east in Nova Scotia. It's just kind of how it's been working. But I do have some office space that I'm excited to use more for some in-person clients when they want to meet in person. So I do both right now. Yeah.
And it's a
Hmm.
beautiful environment there. It's really changed since I was there. Um, and it's not because I left. It was just time for everybody to kind of shift and move and recreate.
Hmm.
And you're in with some incredible people.
Yes, I mean, you feel that when you walk in the space. And then the second office space that's available to me is the one where you're at. Well, it's the office is in the back, but at Aaron's Empire.
Nice.
Yeah, so I
Nice.
just, it's so exciting to be like part of these little hubs that has such a good energy to them. So, um, yeah, it's building community, right?
Absolutely. Well, both
Hmm.
are great places to build community. So yeah,
Hmm.
well, I
Yeah.
look forward to seeing you in the space that David has at Aired Empire. That's
Hmm.
awesome. That's so
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
So let's look at the different things that you offer. So there's
Hmm.
soul coaching. Let's start with that one.
Yeah, so it's interesting to describe the two of them because I use them so interchangeably as is needed with whoever's sitting in front of me. So my ability to respond to what's sort of being asked or prompted in the moment. But the soul coaching is more like kind of developing skills, so to speak. A little bit more of that coaching and like teaching sort of moments, especially when it relates to meditative states or meditative ways of being. So when clients come to me with whatever it is, and it's all unique and different, the way I interact with them and what ends up being like that coaching piece is how to meditate, how to move yourself into a more meditative state. Now, other words that I would use to describe that, or how to be present, how to be receptive, how to be and sit with your own company. So when we say meditation, it's like
Mm,
it's so much more than that, and it is that. So when someone's coming to see me for, say, counseling or soul counseling, there's those coaching moments in there where we kind of break it down. I customize, how it is that we might do this little exercise together that's personalized for them, that allows them to receive what that is that they're needing and that they're asking for. So how do I deal with, what I'm feeling? How do I deal with this overwhelm? How do I connect more with myself? How do I hear myself more? And we do these customized exercises that has this coaching element in it, and it's really fun. We laugh, we cry,
aw.
but but
Mm,
but it's like I don't know, it's like kind of being in school, but not. But it's like this learning, coaching, teaching aspect that's within, the energy and the mystical that is all around. So I'm hoping that's kind of clear.
yeah.
Um, it's challenging sometimes to try to talk about something that's invisible or a relational dynamic, but I think I'm starting to articulate it. So that's
Well, I would
a
say
good
very
question.
well.
Okay,
Yes,
good,
yes,
good.
yes. So I'm a coach as well,
Hmm.
of a different kind, but so
Yeah.
I've had the training, so I understand a lot of, the customizable bits that come with that kind of training.
Hmm.
You used that word that you customize, or you use customized approaches. Does this emanate from your training specifically, where you learned, that this is a great approach for that? Or can you say more on that?
Yeah, so the integrative approach, where probably one of the biggest things that I've learned from my training is how to connect with myself and relate to myself while I'm relating to the person in front of me.
Mm.
So, yeah. Oh, my mind just went off somewhere else. What was your question
Well,
again? Because I'm
the
starting.
customizable approach.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Nice.
so it's the ability to respond. So I mean, I can have all of this amazing information in my brain accessible, to what it is that we're talking about or going through. And um, that's fine. And it's, well, who's this person that's actually sitting in front of me? You know, what state
Mhm.
are they in currently? What's their overall state that they kind of come in and out of? What's their state currently? What's their energy levels like right now? what are they ready for right now? Um, what are they asking for on one level? What are they really asking for on another level?
Ah, yes.
And so like all this information that's coming through, and then doing an exercise that's based on what they've shared with me in the past, what we've done during our consultation, and then what's actually happening in the moment. So it's actually quite and exhilarating and satisfying to, like I said, customize like that exercise in the moment as it relates to like the grand scheme of why we're meeting. And so that happens in the moment, you know.
And you would
Yeah,
be so highly trained with respect to, listening for the unspokens and watching for the nuances that there's no articulation for, particularly,
yeah,
and helping people verbalize more
yeah,
deeply.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well said, Maureen. Thank you. And it sounds, if you if we say it like that, which I love, it almost sounds simple. It's like, oh, well, I'm helping someone to verbalize something or bring words or bring life to something. But that's what ends up being quite transformative, is it helps them see something they couldn't see or doubted, but they did see, feel something they weren't sure what it was,
Mm.
to validate their own experience. And it helps with this sort of tangible quality when we're talking about I say intangible lightly when we're talking about emotions and
Mhm.
things like that. But yeah, it helps them come into their own contact with what they're experiencing, and it helps them come into their own sense of involvement and empowerment in their own process, you know.
So what I'm hearing is that you take the invisible and make it visible, the
Yeah.
unspokens and make them spoken, and the
Mhm.
unconscious, and you're bringing it to consciousness,
Mhm.
which is just, it's such a skill.
Yeah. Thank
Yes.
you. And
Yeah.
it's so awesome. People need it and they love it. Like whether people
Mhm.
talk like that in their own day to day, doesn't really matter. But when we start to interact in that way, someone's like describing something they don't fully understand yet, or it's kind of confusing. And I'm, listening, reflecting things back to them. And they start to kind of get like see in their own sense, like, oh, it sounds like this, or is this going on, or what do you feel, like just helping them through their own process, so that they can have their sense of empowerment. They like it, people like it, and they want it.
There's a
It's
real
just,
hunger.
yeah, there's a real hunger. And again, it's not like everyone necessarily has the verbiage to even ask for that.
Mhm.
Like I want someone to help me connect with this is my words, right? Like I
Mhm.
want someone to help me connect with my deep sense of self, or soul, or spirit, or sacred center, like, but that's what ends up, when people come to me, that's what they end up needing or wanting, whether they have certain words for it or not. So there's definitely an intuitive piece or an energy piece that actually draws, um, us together and people together, which is exciting.
Well, the ability to listen for
Yeah.
and hold space for what shows up is like, that's a skill in and of itself.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, and you're
Wow.
and you're you're exercising it quite well right now. Like you're
Oh.
reflect, like like the reflective skills, the listening skills, all that stuff of like it's such a healing medicine. It really is. And it almost sounds
Mhm.
so simple, but that feeling when you say something and then someone says, "Oh, it seems like this." And then that person really feels seen or heard, and that's just like this bomb, you know and that, I think, is at the heart of what like deeper relationship is within someone, like within one person, being able to really be with and see themselves in such a kind regard,
Hmm.
you know and
Wow.
and we do that with each other in the relationship. I mean, have a kind regard for clients and for people, and that, when we interact in that way and people start to open themselves up, they get to have that and do that for themselves. So it's, part of it is like, yes, I have these skills and
Mhm.
they're awesome, and they're amazing and I love them, but part of what I'm doing is like, you have these skills
Yes,
You could
yes.
do this too,
Oh
and
my gosh. Yeah.
let me show you ways,
Aw.
and you know, and helping them, or really listening to them, to how they like to learn and how they hear things. So that's part of what I do as well. It's not like, take this one sentence in and how I say it, and this is my way, so follow that. It's like, me, how do you speak? Let me kind of try to
Mhm.
speak your language as well, so we can really communicate. Is the thing. So it's exciting. Like, you can do this too, and
Aw.
it gets so excited.
So good.
I
And
know.
when people come to see you, I'm sure for some, it's the first time they've actually felt heard.
Yeah, some people actually say that to me, and they tell me things that they've, don't really tell people or even talk to themselves about. It's, yeah. So feeling
Mhm.
heard. Yeah. Oh, I feel heard. Such a short sentence, and it's like, oh, it's everything, you know?
Yeah. I've had
Yeah.
people come who, whether it's for the intuitive aspect or, the live blood that I do and
Hmm.
helping people with their biology.
Hmm.
Um, Often people will say, like, I really get that I matter. And that's
Wow.
huge, right? And some
Hmm.
people cry because whether it's health things or otherwise, they're being heard, and it's powerful. It's powerful to be present for people. And I know
Yeah.
that about you, is you're very present with people. You're not, scrolling and making a grocery list in your head, you know, or thinking about, what you're going to make for dinner. You're really there.
Hmm.
Yeah, and some people find that intimidating in those of us who listen well.
Ah, interesting. Yeah.
Mhm,
Well, it's like, yeah. So we kind of, in a one sense, all want to be seen. And
mhm.
then, and sometimes we don't, though, there's like
It's
that
like, ah,
push book. I want to be seen. Oh my God, someone sees.
it's too
It's a
close.
lot.
Yeah, or I
Right?
want to
And
see, but that's as close as you get to
that's as
come.
close. Yeah.
Yeah,
Which is totally fine. And it's actually important to respect. I mean, I have my own
right? Yeah.
moments of that in my life as well. And
Mhm,
it all needs to be honored and respected. But
mhm,
I love what we're even just talking about right now.
mhm.
It feels really, it feels sacred. I mean, I know we're kind of
Oh,
having like a fun conversation about it, and it's light, but it actually feels quite sacred as well. You know, it's just
mhm.
how we come to meet people, and what we do, and people show a little bit more of themselves. And
We find each other. If
yeah,
people find you, I found you, or we found each
we
other,
found
and
each
so
other.
it
Yeah,
goes.
yeah,
And I think there is levity in the sacred realm.
yeah,
There's all of it, but there's more ability to be with when we integrate it with our soul selves,
yeah,
would be
yeah.
how I would describe it.
Yeah. And when we talk like metaphorically or energetically about things, sometimes people say, "Oh, I feel it in my bones," or "I feel it in my
Mm,
blood," and it's a real thing. And then, to be able to have spoken with you about the way you speak about blood, and the way see it, and with your science of it, but the way you feel it as well. It's really, I think it's right along the lines of what we're, talking about.
yes, thank
Yeah.
you.
Mhm.
Yes. And what's exciting for me is when people like you come, and you can feel and see and sense that there is that aspect of you that is very spiritual and
Mhm.
very involved with your evolution that way.
Mhm.
And it's not separate. So it's really fun for me to have somebody like you with that awareness.
Mm.
And I don't have to kind of gently nudge it or, pull you forward with it if that's where we need to go. But
Mhm.
I also do respect when people like, mm-mm, right?
Yep.
This is just
Oh yeah.
science. Thank you so much. And that's cool too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it is a respect in the same way that you are respecting people's ability to be forthcoming.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
So explain to me the difference between, like, if I'm perusing your list, of offerings, there's soul coaching and soul
Mhm.
counseling. What is the difference?
Yeah, so I started to touch on that a little bit before, and so I think I'll speak a little bit more to the soul counseling. So
Mhm.
that's a container where folks usually have a sense that there's a little bit more time spent, a little bit more personal or sustained support that allows us to go a little bit sort of, I say it tentatively, but further per se or deeper per se. And I say that tentatively because we can go, deep in like a single coaching session or like a intuitive Reiki session. Absolutely,
Mhm.
However, if someone's looking for a little bit more like high contact in their life, something that's a little bit more consistent and present for them as they're working through, say, a longer arc in their life that they're like trying to work through, you know what I mean? Like, does that make sense? Like a longer arc of something that they're working on. Um, then soul counseling would be lovely for that. Yeah, because it builds that relationship. That sometimes things can only happen when a relationship is a certain kind of relationship is there. It's like, and again, it's like a nonverbal thing. Like our psyche kind of knows, like, oh, I'm supported. Okay, I can do this now, or I can bring this forward now, or I can let this go now. So, and it's different for everyone, whether, it's like a few months that we're meeting or a year or a few sessions, like it's different for everyone. But that soul counseling allows a little bit more of that depth through the contact of the repetition of meeting.
Mhm.
Hmm.
So if I can reference to the arc, is that, because again, I don't, you know this way better than me. So in coaching, we're kind of taking you from here and moving you forward.
Yes.
The history is not as important, although it's not like it is part of it, but it isn't the focus. Whereas with
Right.
counseling, there's a lot more about what came before that's informing the
Yep.
now. Is that,
Yes, that's
does
really
that
well
describe
said.
it?
Thank you for that.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So there's more of an opportunity to have some of the previous sort of emotional and psychic content to be brought forth and held and cared for.
Hmm.
Yeah.
There's a lot of healing in sharing our stories.
Hmm.
And there's a point where the sharing of stories is interfering with the moving forward. So it's a delicate balance, would you say?
Uh, oh, I would love that you said that, Maureen. Absolutely.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, we can kind of get caught up in our stories. It's like, yeah, caught up in it without meaning to, because getting caught up in our stories, it's like something to lean against. It's
Hmm.
familiar. I'm not alone.
Hmm.
And it's just maybe because we're stuck and we're not quite sure how to move from that place of like, oh, this happened to me,
Hmm.
to, okay, that happened to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sometimes the history wants company and
Mhm.
wants to merge with others that had that experience, and it
Yes.
stays stuck,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Like I see
Yes.
that in people. So if you weren't your story, who would you be? And
Yeah.
who would you aspire to be? So
Yeah.
it's to what degree that history, that past informs the now that is the difference maker.
Mhm.
And yeah.
Well, yeah, and it's sort of like an unconscious and conscious dialogue that that person is having, is that some people don't want to let go of it at this moment, and nobody has to.
No.
There's a certain kind of readiness that happens, and you wouldn't want to like go jump into something if you're not ready. So,
Mm-hmm.
there's sometimes people do a lot of preparing while they're still kind of stuck in the story, and when and so if someone comes to me and they're kind of stuck in a story, it's like, if they actually are, they kind of want to get out of it, but they're not quite ready. It's like, well, we'll actually talk about that. It's like, well, what do
Mm-hmm.
you need to actually get ready?
Mm-hmm.
How can I
Great
support you in
question.
that way? And
Yeah.
and again, it's not because I think you should be here now or there
Mm-hmm.
now. It's like, well, what do you actually want for yourself? What are you ready for right now? And so, whatever someone can verbalize, or as we kind of dish out, it's like some people say, oh, I want to be here. And it's like, so we try to go there and it's like, no. So it's like, well, what about this? What about this? What about this?
Mm-hmm.
How about this? Does this feel nice right now? Yes, that feels good. And so, you know, there's so many different ways to work with the stories, but really, the person, it depends on how ready they are, which is
And
all
it's a
good.
process of awakening. I always see it
Yeah.
as there's nothing more beautiful than seeing someone declare that they're complete with that story.
Mhm.
that they see for themselves that it no longer serves, and that it really bogged them down, or it did serve, and but now it's different. So coming
Mhm.
to those realizations is, like you said, it's so empowering.
Mhm.
And for somebody to say, just drop the story is like too much already,
Mhm.
um, doesn't work. It actually
Mhm.
pushes the person back into kind of that place, because
Yeah,
they're not ready, but they're determining when ready is. even though
exactly.
even though as coach, counselor, you know where to beckon it forward.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ah, Maureen, I love your use of words.
It's fun,
You
right?
you use the word beckon right now. I love it.
Yeah, it's a good one, isn't it?
Yeah.
I beckon you towards your becoming. It's a
Oh,
good thing. Yeah, so
yeah.
fun.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, there was something that you said at that last piece that I was just starting to tune into, but it slipped my mind again because I'm getting excited. But anyway, it'll
uh,
come back if it
it'll
needs
come
to.
back. So
Yeah.
if someone reaches out to you and they're going, I don't know, should I do counseling or coaching? Like, um, how do you guide people with regards to
Yeah.
making a choice?
Yeah, well, there's a consultation that I offer, a complimentary consultation. So it allows us to meet and
Mm,
chat and kind of clarify that exact question. What are you looking for? What do you need? How can I help you? And,
hmm.
is it a good match for where you're at in your life? And so we just, take that up to an hour for the consultation, and we just kind of answer those questions. And they well, and it's what's great about it is that I mentioned before is that if someone comes to see me for coaching, there's some moments for counsel if they wanted. It's there.
Hmm.
Like you can't like turn off the dial. And so if someone's coming to see me for some soul counseling, there's obviously coaching can come in no problem. So, you know, i- they they work together. They work together really well.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I love how fluid you are with that. You
Hmm.
show up and provide what's needed when, which is
Hmm.
what it's all about.
Yeah.
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 So the soul part of it, obviously, or it seems obvious to me that someone that would search you out is in search of growing their spiritual selves.
Yeah, yeah. So growing their spiritual, and again, these are certain words, and there might be other words that people use for similar things, but people that are interested in tapping into, connecting with, or communicating with this deeper sense of self, whether you call it spirit or
Mhm.
soul, heart, intuition, instinct. So folks that come to see me are interested in this way of life that has that with it, like
Mhm.
has that aliveness, that richness, that sort of non-verbal, metaphoric, um, dreamlike quality that they really honor or like or want to bring more into their world. um, so there's some kind of passion or heart or tenderness or longing that folks have. um,
Mm.
and so yeah, yeah. They're interested in their own sense of involvement in their process, their own sense of empowerment. They're curious, um, ready, hungry. They like to ask
Mm.
questions. They're just like they're ready. So um, that seems to be a general kind of theme with all the different beautiful folks that I get to work with. So
So nice. Well, there's
yeah.
I love the use of the word curiosity. Like
Hmm.
if there's a curiosity, they're going to reach out to somebody like you versus a clinical psychologist or a psychiatrist, or I mean, there's a place for everybody,
Oh
but it
yeah.
seems to me that someone who chooses soul coaching or counseling
Yeah.
is very intrigued by connecting with another aspect of themselves. So I would imagine you get people that are, on quite a path already, and others who are just dipping their toe in.
Yeah. Did we talk about that before? Because
Uh,
that's exactly how I would say that. It feels like we've talked about that before.
oh,
So
could
yeah, so
be.
yeah, or
Repetition is good.
Marine's intuition's just coming up. So, so that's exactly it. So I have clients that come to me that are like, so I've been operating like this for a while. It's not working. I'm like in my head. I'm not sure what to do. Like, and so they're like, well, you have this language, you talk about nature, a holistic self, you talk about soul or spirit, and I just want to feel like I want to feel free to talk about that and explore that and what that means to me. And so
Nice.
folks come to me that way, so it's
Yeah.
really new to them, and I love that. It's so exciting. I love introducing this world in a way that they like and is good for them. And then there's folks who are kind of really already on this path, let's say, so to speak, and they have their own languaging around it. They have their own experience with, deeper sense, with the mystical, and they're still kind of moving through something, and they just want this kind of support. It's not because it's new per se, but that they want this kind of support, this lens that I'm able to bring into their experience that they really value. So you're absolutely right. People who are just dipping their toe are already kind of swimming in the waters. Yeah.
And those who are already deeply involved with their spiritual evolution would appreciate that you understand the language.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's, I'm sure people are like, oh, you so get me, right? You understand me, like you speak my language. So yeah, it's huge, right?
Yeah. So it's not like they have to hide that part of themselves or over explain themselves, because I'm kind of already comfortable with using this kind of language. So yeah, we can kind of just hit the ground running, so to speak.
I love it. So you also do energy readings and healings.
Yeah. And so when people come to see me for soul counseling and soul coaching, that's part of it as well. Again, I can't like turn the button off. So with the information that I have around, someone who's got this kind of tendency or, attachment or whatever, that's great. And then, I have that knowledge. And then as we're doing the live session, the intuition comes in and I check with it and I ask some questions. What about this and how about that? And it really informs, how we work. And so if someone wants to come for, say, a one-off like energy reading and Reiki, I kind of combine the two, then that's exactly what it is. I don't really know them. We've never met before, but the information starts to come through and I check in with them, and it's just how the session goes. So it's always part, I mean, it's how I live. It's brought into my work because it's who I am and it's how I live. So it's always kind of here, ready for going. Yeah.
Yes. It's you can't just not see certain things, and whether we know it or not, we're always reading other people's energy. We are sensitive to other people's energy.
Sure. And I like that you bring that up too, because sometimes people are a bit put off by that, like, oh, are you reading me right now?
Yes.
And it's like, well, no, not really, but I'm not. And so what I want to say to that is, when with this work that I do, and I'm sure with other people as well who are in some sort of relational or helping work, when two people come together, they start to talk and they make an agreement of some sort of like, okay, I want to come see you. It's okay for you to connect with me. I'm going to let you in a bit, or I'm going to share a bit with you. So it's different when two people come into a like more of a professional dynamic, where we're tuning into each other in a different way than, I would if I'm talking to just having a conversation with someone. So it's a little different, there's more of that permission, and there's the respect of, when you really kind of connect with someone. So, yeah.
It's so interesting because you know how when you go to someone's place for dinner and you walk in and they just had a domestic. It's like you can feel it, right?
Yeah.
That happened to me when someone came for live blood, and this was a long time ago. And I just turned, it was husband and wife, and I just turned my chair around and looked at both of them and I said, so you had a domestic this morning? And they're going, oh my God, how did you know? So it was just it was the big white elephant in the room, but then we
Yeah.
laughed and it just broke the ice so they could just drop it and we could get
Uh,
on with things. So it was like I listened to my intuition with respect to, is it appropriate to say that or not? Or
yeah.
another one that shows up more frequently is, and often with men, is I'll just sit there and go, okay, your wife sent you, didn't she? So yes, it was a deal breaker if I didn't come and check
Mhm.
into my health. So it's kind of
Mhm.
fun to play with it, but also with all due respect, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm.
And you are, you're a Reiki master, and again, all of these things merge together. And meditation is huge for you. So in the realm of meditation, I've listened to one of your recordings, and oh my gosh, it's just exquisite. And you have such a way, and I really want to honor that and acknowledge your incredible skill that way. You have the voice, you have the persona, you embody it, and like you say, this is your life, which is well appreciated by those of us that know you.
Mm.
Yeah. So
I really welcome that. That's really beautiful to receive. Mimi. Thank you.
well, you're
Yeah.
welcome. And at
Oh.
the end, please stick around, everyone who's listening, because Karen will bless us with a little meditation at the end. I can hardly wait. Ah,
Well, thank you. I thank you for bringing that up again, because it is how I work, and it is something that I'm offering. I'd have a free Facebook group that I'd offer free meditations in right now before I offer some of the more paid ones that are coming up. I actually have some. I'm going to be doing that in the next week. I'm going to start fiddling around with recording and offering general but potent meditations for folks, and still offer the personalized ones as well. Oh, those are powerful. So I'm
mm,
going to start to do that more often. And well, voice is powerful, and that's a lot of like the clients that come to see me. It's like connecting with that voice inside, that deep voice inside, and using it. So it's such a beautiful resource that we all have available to us, and I hope to bring this more to people so that they can actually find that they can do it, that they can do meditation, that they can even enjoy it and have it be this sacred resource and thing that they look to do and look forward to doing. Um,
mm,
so yeah,
beautiful,
thank you for bringing
beautiful.
that up. Yeah.
Oh, pleasure. Such a
Hmm.
pleasure. The the world of meditation is, I mean, you can meditate with so many apps now, and there's just a lot available.
Hmm.
And when is your app coming out?
Oh, I don't know. That's a great idea,
I
Maureen.
just
I
thought
love
I'd throw
that.
that out there.
It's coming out
It's
whenever
coming.
it's coming.
I
Yeah,
can't
that's a great
wait.
idea.
I will sign up.
You
Yes.
know,
Yes, and I will pay for it. You
awesome.
need to be, blessed also. So
Oh,
uh
thank you.
money is a beautiful blessing too.
It is. And
Energy
that's
exchange, right?
exchange. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So, in the world
Mm.
of coaching, counseling, working with people, we run
Mhm.
into obstacles. No matter how smooth it goes, every once in a while, there might be someone who's particularly challenging to work with, or we just can't make the connections that we know. It's like slippery. Has that happened for you, and how?
Yeah, so I mean, that's like a natural part of,
Hmm.
seeing the public or seeing people. It's like, we might be a match for a bit or sort of, or maybe working things out. And we just have, it's just kind of clear for us when it does happen, if it's not an exact match, and we just kind of have a conversation about it, and, just be upfront about it. And, well, if there's sort of something that's, that you're receiving from here, but it's not quite exactly what you need, who would that be? What service would that look like? and just sort of I help that person direct to maybe who they can see that is for them. And I don't really take it personally. It just kind of happens, you know, and I'm not for everyone, and everyone's not for me. And that's
Hmm.
why there's lots of different, healing, or supportive, caregivers, I guess you could call it, in a certain way. And I'm not sure if that answers really specifically your question of how I deal with that. So feel free
No,
to follow that up.
that's great. I mean, sometimes like I really get it, like not taking it personally if someone, decides not to proceed is a
Yeah.
thing.
Hmm.
And I really love that they could decide, that they discern for themselves that it's not the time.
Yeah.
And sometimes they come back, and that's great, right?
Hmm.
It's right when it's right, because you can't
Hmm.
force that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I think only twice in my career I've, suggested that we weren't a match. Um, and they'll argue that yes, we are. And it's like, well, let's take a look at this, right?
Yeah.
Ever so kind of
Yeah.
way. But and sometimes you do have to, just let people go. And that's part of it
Hmm.
too, because we get to say
Hmm.
too, as practitioners, as
Hmm.
helpers, as light workers.
Hmm. Well, that's actually being quite helpful, seeing someone beyond maybe what they're ready for, what you can offer is really
Mhm.
helpful. But it's not helpful. So referring, or sort of pausing things, which again, it's similar to you. And my, I've been doing the counseling since 2015. Only a handful of times have I really kind of partway through, meeting with someone being like, okay, maybe this isn't, the best
Mhm.
for either of us. But yeah, yeah, it's I really like their interest at heart. And so is that,
Mhm.
what does that look like? So
Right.
um
That's being
yeah, that's
authentic unto ourselves and out of respect for the other person,
exactly,
right? Because
yeah.
it costs money to do these things,
Oh, for sure, they're
right?
investing, and we're investing our energy as well. And so yeah, yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of an okay conversation to have, that people are pretty receptive to. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, because they want what's best for them too. So
Totally. And
yeah.
it takes courage to speak what is. And yeah, and there's a time that sometimes that needs to be exercised.
Hmm. Definitely.
Soul and spirit, the
Yeah.
same or different?
Oh, well, that's a conversation, isn't
It
it? I'd
is.
love I'd love to hear what you think too. So I'm of the mind, I don't think it's in mind, but I kind of view spirit as like a broad sense.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like we all have a spirit, or we are a spirit. And there's like, I'm getting into more of my personal beliefs, but that there's like a greater spirit, right? So it's like we have our spirit and then the greater spirit, and then, you know, how we're kind of connected to, or like little drops of that spirit, or like the drop of the ocean kind of thing. So there's a broadness to spirit when I say that, although some folks who, when they're talking about, say, connecting with spirit guides, there's a more of a personal aspect of, a spirit guide being in spirit, but it's like personified.
Mm-hmm.
um, and for me, when I use the word soul, it's more of that personalized sense of spirit, like my soul is mine and yours is yours.
Yeah.
although we're of spirit, at least that's kind of how I'd like to define that. And even so, even though I have my own personal experience, beliefs, or senses of knowing of what soul or spirit is, it's still, someone's might be different. And so it's when someone comes to me, they don't necessarily have to have the same viewpoint or experience of life, which is really great.
Mm-hmm.
um, because I think having that dialogue and allowing, me to have my experience of soul and spirit, and someone else to have their experience of soul and spirit. It doesn't have to be a competition, like we don't have to agree on what it is. And so that's kind of where I come from that, in a sense, because it kind of speaks to a human condition, I think, that we have, which is from like a certain perspective, maybe even like a psychological perspective. On a certain level, we kind of like having the answer and knowing the answer. And then because when we do, we don't have to question, we don't have to wonder, there's no mysteriousness and there's no unknown. And so part of I think what it means to be a human is we kind of have these temporary belief structures that we have, that we kind of, this is the answer, this is the thing, this is reality, that's it, I know it. Oh, good, everything's done, there's no conversation, it's all secure, it's safe, I feel safe, I feel safe. And so I'm kind of getting on a tangent here, but having the dialogue where we don't have to have a competition on that is quite, I think, freeing. And allows people to explore it for themselves, because what we're exploring, when people are exploring their soul, when you're exploring your soul, like no one's going to give you the answer. Like this is your own personal journey. I mean, read books, read, whoever master or, expert or whatever you want to call people, but, come to how that metabolizes for you. And it's really your own experience of it. So that's a little bit of how I might answer that question. Is to really let it be a continuing exploration. Yes. It's like, let it be a continuing exploration. Don't feel like you have to like arrive at an answer. And kind of being okay with just discovering as you're going along.
I love how you referenced spirit as more exogenous, so more outside of us, and it's something we can draw from. I really liked that. And I just saw all these little, fairy dust coming down, and just kind of informing us, supporting us. And it's like a well that you can always draw from. It's always there. It's perpetual and beautiful. The soul, I'm just using my words as I'm understanding your words.
Yes.
Soul feels like the deep inner self that knows that connection without question. And there's a soul consciousness. Some will say there's a soul contract, and that's understanding our purpose and our nuances. So it's really quite a contemplative area to sit with. I really love how you talk about letting go of agenda or the destination. Like, I'm here, I want to get there. I don't really see that there's truly room for that, because then the ego is getting in the way and wanting to command how it goes. But when you work with soul and self, you're intuiting and you're listening, you're connecting, which is different. It's a different conversation. The ego self kind of gets messy sometimes, and it's can be very controlling or judgmental and all of that. Whereas the spirit and soul self is compassionate, and it's without judgment. It just is. Back to the I am.
Well said.
The reference to not needing to know, just share a really quick little bit. I studied shamanism for a number of years, and I remember the first weekend I went to, I just cried the whole time, because I'm going, I'm home. There's so much here that resonates. But one of the first things that they said was, in this path, we need to give up the need to know. And that was really, really liberating. When we overthink things, it gets it gets lost in translation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love that I mean, I'm just saying it differently, but we're saying the same thing,
Yeah.
which is super cool.
Yeah, and I love that you bring that word shamanic into it. It's like it automatically brings in this sense of like walking in between states or
Mm-hmm.
worlds or consciousnesses, or and within that is inherent mysteriousness and not
Mm.
knowing, which I'm really hoping to bring back into people's lives. That's okay, and not just okay, but that is so good. It's like mysteriousness is this like nectar, I feel,
Oh,
because
nice. Nice word.
yeah, because I think it allows us to, I think you use the word liberating. It's like, especially with there's a certain languaging around right now of like that we manifest every single thing, and I'm not necessarily arguing that. It's just, yes, speaking to, yes, we have influence, we have affluence, we make waves, we make decisions, we kind of make things happen. And really to bring this other complementary yet somewhat different language and way of being, which is sensing, being guided, following, being led, you know, um, having a sense of where you're going potentially, but not exactly sure how, and all the steps, and micromanaging the shit out of your journey, and and like this and this might not, the word might not resonate with everyone, but like being taken in a way, or being led or guided, can feel like there's a surrendering quality to what
Mm.
I'm in bringing into this, like I'm making. There's surrendering quality that I think people just want.
Mm.
Like I don't have to know everything. I don't have to micromanage everything. I
Yes.
don't have to control everything. In fact, I'm not controlling everything like I think I am, and that's definitely a conversation to have. But just to welcome in that we don't have to know, and we don't know everything, and we're not going to know everything, no matter how much you know. The more you know, the more you know you don't know, and so it's
Yes.
and so that shamanic kind of quality that you were speaking to, I think, allows that. And that's how I work with folks as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have this predestined plan and then I say, okay, this is what you're doing. I have ideas, guidelines, I have things that I'm going to, I think I'm going to guide you here. And it's like, and I'm listening, and I'm responding, and I'm following,
Mm-hmm.
what's happening. And I think, you know, yeah, I love that you
Love.
talk about that. I could clearly talk about it forever. I'm going to stop
Yes,
talking.
me too. So
Yeah.
so another thing that I really think addresses and complements what you've been talking about is I see that there's what we know, there's what we
Mhm.
know we don't know, and there's what we don't even know we don't know. And that's a place of counselor and coach and just an empath and an intuitive and all of those things. It's like
Mhm.
even in Reiki, when working with the energies, which I used to know all that and I've lost it over the years. So I just get so excited when somebody's in it.
Mhm.
You pick up energies, you pick up nuances.
Mhm.
And the other thing I wanted to speak to was I really, and this is another way of saying what you've said, is that giving ourselves like the surrender,
Mhm.
huge. And giving ourselves permission to lean into the unknown, which is what we're doing, what you do, what
Mhm.
I do,
Mhm.
and in similar but different ways.
Mhm.
And that's truly listening, listening from here
Mhm.
and also listening from there. And that the more you get in sync with the person, the more you're doing that.
Mhm.
And that's what informs and brings the words forward. And, you know, it helps us guide with guidance.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well said. Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
fun, hey?
It kind of is fun. It's like, it's kind of serious work, let's say. Like, I know,
Yes.
the way I approach my work is with definitely a respect and a seriousness, and similar to you as well. I might be so bold to put words in your mouth, but if so, correct me if that's off. But it's so fun.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
It's beautiful. It's a dance
it's
in and of
so
itself.
much fun.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
So in
yeah.
that fun, you have a blog called You Secretly Love Vulnerability. And I read that title, I burst out laughing. It's like, ah. So there's a quote here I have from you.
Oh.
If you've been wanting more love and connection in your life, it may be because there's another depth of vulnerability within you that you're ready for. It's so graciously put.
Mm.
Thank you for that. I shared that with one of my daughters. I said, okay, I have one for you this morning.
Hmm.
And how do we know we're ready?
You know what? This might sound weird. Can you read what I wrote again? I want
Oh,
to
yes.
get one of those words that you read in the beginning.
Oh,
Can
absolutely.
you read it one more time?
I kind of flew through it.
Yeah.
If you've been wanting more love and connection in your life, it may be because there is another depth of vulnerability within you that you are ready for.
Hmm. And so your question was, how does someone know that they're ready for it?
Yes.
Because they keep asking.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And I don't have like an answer for your question, but there's like
Mm-hmm.
clues and hints.
Yes.
When
Yes.
the longing gets bigger, when the impatience gets shorter,
Mm.
when the questions keep coming up, the you can't stop thinking about something, or something keeps coming into your field, the kind of like a build up kind of feels like it's happening. It's like that's like a sign of before change. So the build up, the friction
Mm-hmm.
happens, um,
Mm-hmm.
which is the alchemical shift for the next place that you're going into. So the fact that, you know, just like noticing the questions you keep asking and how ardent they are and how frequent they are. And yeah, it kind of hints to that, as to somewhat answer your question. And the reason why I say so boldly, you like like it's such an overt statement, like you like vulnerability. I mean, like not knowing who's reading the post, but when I think about, and maybe you can speak to this too, Maureen, when you think about some of the beautiful, and I say beautiful not as only like lovely, I mean sad moments or grief, can have life in it. But when we think of these moments that we look back on and have had that have been like something that we've wanted, or we've experienced a feeling or an emotion that we've wanted, whether it's peace or relief or rest or love or joy or connection, whatever it is, it when I look back at my life, it's come from those moments of vulnerability. And when I say vulnerability, I mean moments of openness, moments of allowing myself to be touched, um, or when I couldn't help it and something, affected me. It seems to come through those moments of vulnerability where you're just you, and
Mm.
you're just whatever is running through you at the time. But that place of kind of almost uncomfortable openness when we're on a precipice of something new.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I don't know what your experience is with that and
Oh,
vulnerability, but
well, I concur absolutely.
okay.
There's a beautiful word called thalipsis, and I spoke to it when I did a little talk at my youngest daughter's wedding, and I spoke about, like, we can say, I wish you joy and happiness and rainbows and fairies. But the
Yeah.
truth of the matter is, in order to grow, we need friction. And that's the word thalipsis is all about the friction we need to move us forward. It's like spinning your tires on the ice or creating some friction like sand
Mm,
or salt underneath so we can gain traction for
mm,
movement.
mm,
And I think it's to honor the hardships in our life, to honor the sticky spots, the uncomfortable spots, and get comfortable with being uncomfortable sometimes, because that is life 101. And
mhm,
so I love what you said. It encapsulates, the little bit that I said here, as well as said so much more with respect to those
mhm,
harder parts.
mhm.
And to just, it's not being done to you, it's being done with you.
Yes.
And so no, like, again, the whole manifestation thing is a conversation that's a bit triggering sometimes. And even in my
Mhm.
life, it's like, what? I don't think so. But there's a collective consciousness as well, and it has so many components and moving parts. And
Yeah.
um, so I love that I'm hearing how much you honor the hardships too, the difficulties, the unknowns. That's
Mm.
really beautiful. And
Yeah.
I can only imagine the beautiful space that you hold for people with respect to that.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
so
you. I
welcome.
appreciate that. Well, I'm gonna overgeneralize, but just to mention, like when I'm seeing when in my own practice, it's is that when people come to me with whatever discomfort or pain, whatever that
Hmm.
is,
Hmm.
with a part of who they are, a part of who they think they shouldn't be, a part that is unlovable, shouldn't be there, too this, too sad, too angry, too whatever. What ends up being part of the process is like welcoming that part in as well.
Mm.
You know, it's again, it's another sentence, a really short sentence. Oh, just welcome these parts of you. Oh, and I'm not saying it too flippantly, but oh, just accept these parts of you. But when that actually starts to happen, it's just you can't cut off your arm and try to be whole. Like you can't cut off
Hmm.
these parts that are, whatever they are, the shadow parts. And um, yeah, I love how you ended sort of what you were saying with that welcoming
It's so
release.
true. It's back to when I went to shamanic school, because a true shaman must be born into it, like they're initiated, there's all of that. But as a practitioner, um, you know using and embodying some of the techniques and ways, there's so many fabulous ways. um, there's What I loved was you get to dance with your shadows. That was the first time that I like, what? I don't have to like shove that away. I don't have to pretend it doesn't exist. I don't have to apologize for it. I don't have to beat myself up because of it. So there was a quote that was, again, from those times, is that we must dance with our shadows as we dance with our light, because they are a part of
Mm-hmm.
us. I got
Mm-hmm.
the quote totally wrong, but that's the gist of it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but for me, that was huge permission to be me. And I hear that's exactly what you're offering people, is to be with
Mm-hmm.
themselves, not to be shamed or blamed. All the work and the books that have been written around blame and shame.
Mm-hmm.
It's to just see that that's okay, and it is a part of you,
Mm-hmm.
and that is what makes you today. So
Mm-hmm.
you wouldn't be you without that experience. So
Mm-hmm.
mhm.
Yeah.
Karen, we could talk for like hours.
Are you
And
keeping an eye on the time? Are you
I
being
am, I am.
good,
So
responsible? Okay.
yeah,
Good.
yes. So I would ask that you so kindly leave us with a brief meditation. And before we go into that, I just want to um, note that we will leave your contact information on the blog. That will all be there. People can contact you there, and on your Facebook page. And if you haven't sent that to us already, please do. And please, I really encourage anyone who is resonating with Karen's energy and being, that you reach out. You will be so kindly and beautifully cared for and held. So thank you.
Beautiful.
Hmm.
Wonderful. Okay.
All
So thank you,
right.
Maureen. That's so sweet. So like a 1 minute, 2 minute meditation,
Mm-hmm.
spontaneous. Let's see what happens.
Spontaneous, yay.
Okay. Okay, so for me, for Maureen, for whoever's watching, feel free to close your eyes and feel how you're sitting on your chair, the floor, or your couch. And feel into a few deep breaths. It's just all to breathe in together. So inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. One more time, inhale. And then exhale, let it out. And so for this brief meditation, I invite you to breathe into the simple brilliance of your body. Just breathe into your feet or wherever you can. Feel the aliveness wherever you can, the aliveness of your body. The aliveness inside of you that gives life to your body. Have you ever just sat down and thought, I'm going to tune into how alive I am? And this life inside. Not going to know exactly how you feel. I don't know if this is more of an honoring than a meditation, but just to take a moment to honor how you are right now and to honor you and the sacred part of yourself. That it's okay to use words like sacred or reverent or deep or soul. So that when you're moving about your day, you're doing your things and grocery list, you take a breath and just remember to feel this aliveness. And take an inhale through your nose. And then exhale through your mouth. And I'm going to end the way that I've been ending my yoga classes for a long time. So I want everyone to rub their palms together, whether that's slowly or quickly. And place your palms over your eyes. And open your eyes into your palms. Just helping with that transition into your day. Slide your hands down from the earth. So, thank you, Mary.
Karen, thank you. That was beautiful.
It was
You are
so lovely.
beautiful. Thank you for sharing you today.
So lovely talking with you and just sharing space with you and energy with you. Wonderful.
Well, deeply appreciated. And I really encourage people to reach out if this resonates with them. And may you continue to do just such incredible, valuable work. It's so needed, especially now. Yeah.
Thank you, Maureen. And I could say the same thing for you, my friend.
Oh, thank you.
So good. So good. Well,
Thank
have
you.
a great day. I'll see you in a month or so.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, this is so great.
All right.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.